Welcome back, student. Today we will discuss polycystic ovarian syndrome and its homeopathic management in adolescents. Actually, we will study proper polycystic ovarian disease and we'll be focusing more on adolescents also. As you all know, we will be discussing then this under the headings. So outline, we will be studying epidemiology and pathophysiology, clinical manifestations, diagnosis and management. Polycystic ovarian disease. It is a heterogeneous multisystem endocrinopathy in women of reproductive age group. It was first discovered by and named as Stannard-Leventhal syndrome in the year 1935. After the lot of research, it has been concluded that PCOS has an extremely heterogeneous clinical picture and is multifactorial in etiology. This complex disorder is characterized by excessive androgen production by the ovaries as well as adrenals, which interferes with the growth of ovarian follicles. Therefore, it is a state of androgen excess with chronic anovulation. So how much it is incident? Current incidence of PCOS in India is 5 to 6%. It is very fast growing disease due to the change in lifestyles and stress. It is also becoming a common problem amongst adolescents developing soon after the puberty. And we can also say that about 20% of infertility is attributed to an ovulation which is caused by polycystic ovarian syndrome. This incidence also varies between 0.5 to 0.4% as it is more common in infertile women. So we'll see the basic pathophysiology. See this flow chart. This will explain you about the hypothalamic intrinsic disorder with low progesterone. So how this decreased progesterone sensitivity occurs. First of all, we all know that GnRH pulse frequency, it is increased. Normally we see that GnRH is secreted in pulses from the hypothalamus. Now here the frequency is increased, which may be due to hyperinsulinemia also. This increased pulse frequency it stimulates the pituitary gland to secrete more luteinizing hormone. LH is increased compared to FSH, that is follicular stimulating hormone. And this luteinizing hormone now stimulates the theca cells of the ovary. This is the outer layer of the follicle. These theca cells, in response of the luteinizing hormone, which increases the androstenedione production. Androstenedione production further into 17-alpha hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase with the hyperactivity, with the action of the aromatase. It is low here, it secretes the hormone testosterone. Now this process of testosterone further secretes the hormone estrogen also, which takes place in the granulosa cells. Estrogen increases in the granulosa cell, FSH decreases. FSH decreases because of chronic estrogen increase causes negative feedback to the FSH. That's why FSH may remain normal or it may be decreased. So this is how the pathophysiology, we will understand it in more details. First of all, we will see the etiologies. See, normally we can see how the normal ovary physiologic functions and how it changes into the polycystic ovary. See, normally we know there are multiple primordial follicles which may change into primary follicles, which further develops into the secondary follicles and leads to mature follicle. This is also known as Graafian follicle. This mature Graafian follicle, dominant follicle, releases the ova, under the effect of hormone, luteinizing hormone. Now, if there is no fertilization, this follicle, rupture Graafian follicle will change into corpus luteum, where it secretes the hormone progesterone. And if fertilization is not there, corpus luteum may degenerate, may change into corpus albicans. This is the normal physiology in the ovary. But if PCOD occurs, and what exactly happens? From primary to primordial to primary and secondary follicle. Here there is the development stopped and there is no mature follicle we can see. So these follicles becomes immature. So multiple immature follicles now become cystic. Because of rich estrogen, they become cystic follicles. We can see the necklace pattern in the periphery of the ovary. This is nothing but the classical presentation of the PCOS. So how it occurs? We should always remember the diet, the nutrition which we take. So most of the time bad food habits and stress. Of course, genetic link is found. Hereditary effect is seen. Till now we are not very sure, but hereditary genetic link is very important. If suppose mother is having PCOD, it is transferred into the daughter or siblings may suffer. Nowadays, the CYP21 gene mutation is also considered to be a cause for the polycystic ovarian cyst. Here, the food wise, we can see high glycemic index food is responsible because it affects the blood sugar levels. Increased caffeine intake is not good. It affects the fertility level by increasing the estrogen levels. Now, hydrogenated oils may raise the cholesterol, bad cholesterol, usually LDL, and lowers the good, okay, that is HDL. Alcohol is also not good for female. It worsens the metabolism of sugar. Red meat affects the hormonal system. Gluten grains, these are the wheat items, cereals, which are not good for digestion. They affect the digestive problems. Now, obesity is linked with all these foods. So dairy products, white sugar, white flour, all white, rice, cheese, ghee. This is not good because obesity is increased, and increased obesity is again causing a vicious cycle for hyperinsulinemia and promotes the cyst formation. We'll see pathophysiology. There has been it has been linked to altered LH. Altered means increased luteinizing hormone, which causes insulin resistance and a possible predisposition to hyperandrogenism. See, the receptivity of insulin hormone is decreased at the periphery. So resistance occurred, and that's why it leads into hyperinsulinemia. One theory maintains that underlying insulin resistance exacerbates the hyperandrogenism. How? We know the hormone SHBG. It synthesis this 6-hormone binding globulin. We call it sex hormone binding globulin. As it arises from the liver, it is suppressed. So suppressed synthesis of SHBG in the liver increases the binding capacity. It decreases the binding capacity. That's why adrenal and ovarian synthesis of androgen is increased. Thereby increased testosterones, free testosterones are there in the blood of a female. And these androgens then lead to irregular menstruation and physical manifestation of hyperandrogenism. See, we will understand insulin resistance. When there is insulin resistance, it causes compensatory hyperinsulinemia, means elevated insulin levels in the liver, in the muscles, in the cells, in the blood. This causes increased androgen production as it inhibits the follicle development and thereby preventing the ovulation. So excess androgen is always interfering with the normal follicular maturations, and this leads to polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is the development of multiple small follicles that do not ovulate. So we have seen how androgen production affects, how obesity affects the insulin resistance, and there are certain enzyme hyperfunction which occurs due to stress, even due to high prolactin levels. So systemic metabolic alteration is responsible for PCOS. In that, hyperinsulinemia, hyperprolactinemia. So we can say if obesity, a 35 to 50% patient who are obese may have a PCOS, where body mass index, if it is more than 30 kilogram per square meter, then hirsutism is seen in 70% cases, infertility in 40%, like that.